So a bit of a breaking news kind of a story right here. You guys will remember, if you do, the stampede that happened at Bushiri. There was a person that we saw a lot at that period. His name was Maynard, and he even appeared in an interview with the SABC.
Take us through what exactly happened on that fateful day.
As you know, we had rains, we had storms in Pretoria, and as congregants tried to storm, finding shelter, running away from the rain, it obviously resulted in the stampede, and unfortunately that then led to people getting injured and the unfortunate loss of life.
He is the person that went there. I think they figured, you know what, Bushiri shouldn't speak everywhere. He shouldn't seek to go everywhere to answer, and so they kind of broadened his team, and that's where Maynard came in. He was a public relations, I guess, a relations manager.
The event that transpired was not a stampede within Shepherd Bushiri's home, but at a premises which is rented and utilized by the Enlightened Christian Gathering Church, for which he is a part of. The institution has leadership, it has a board, it has directors. The people who we feel acted incompetently could have done better, and perhaps as an error of omission or commission allowed this to happen, have been the recipients of disciplinary action.
So basically, the sum to thinking he was the person to go to.
Maynard, thank you so much for your time. Can you just give us details about how the church is still continuing? What is then the plans and the way forward?
Well, the church is, I don't know if I should use continuing per se, but the church is rather existing the same way it's existed before. The church itself exists outside of the person.
And they went to the CRL. He was also one of the people that was doing. He's a very well established investigative journalist. That's a part that actually a lot of people might not know. Some time ago, he did speak about his departure, and there was an article that came out fully detailing thingy and his exit from Bushiri's thingy and going on to establish himself into other things. And I think it's roughly about the period when Bushiri was now extraditions, the whatnots, the whole nine just started that investigative journalist group of individuals that they do investigations and stuff like that. You'll remember the Walter Magaya whole thing when the fake degrees story came out. He contributed to some other fake degrees that were in the conversation at the time in Zimbabwe. Okay, so they had done some other research pertaining other degrees, if you don't actually remember. So for some of the stories that you've been seeing, they actually did a bit of investigation on him and his team. Now, they established a YouTube channel, I think about last year, called Dug Up, and this deals with some of this investigative work, and they kind of like do these videos where they speak about certain investigations that they were involved in. A very recent one, which is how I actually got to know about their platform, was the one that they recently did on the 2030 agenda. The 2030 agenda from Zimbabwe is this agenda that they're trying to push for the current president, Idi Mnangagwa, to extend his term instead of 2 terms, I think, to 3 terms, which is contrary to the constitution, is contrary to thinking, but that's not the conversation. So they recently did that video. That's how I actually got to know about them for the first time. And so that's when I got to know that they have a platform. I knew about him, but I didn't know that they had a YouTube channel. So that video reached my recommendations because I'd been watching that particular 2030 thing from Gambakwe Media. So YouTube naturally recommended that video and I saw it from there. So yesterday, actually this morning, he reported that there was a murder concerning one of their journalists, and the way that he passed away, it's a very, very sad one. He reported that one of their journalists, one of their investigative journalists, was actually thrown out of a car with all his stuff, thrown out of a moving car. So this is murder because this person later on died. He was admitted to, he was taken over to the thingy and he passed. And so he made this video actually kind of like breaking down the events and how much investigation they were involved in, what kind of business he was into, and also him leaving a child, that particular person. And this was not pertaining a robbery, because all the things that he had on him, still had them. He had an iPhone, I think one of the latest iPhones, and everything that he possessed, he still had them. Cash, he still had it. So it was not a robbery. It was murder. They had abducted him at one particular point, and they actually threw him off. So he broke that particular story down very recently. And if you haven't seen that, you can go I'll leave the video of it down in the description below. To think it's showing just like how crazy some of the work that these guys get involved in can get. Like I said, they recently did this video on the 2030 agenda. He actually secured an interview with, there's a voice note in the background where he's trying to get information, and the information is just pretty wild. It was like I think it was like a 30-40 minute video that they actually published on Thing. Now, this actually reminds me of a story that we recently did of the lady that was involved in the arrest of Timothy Omotoso, right? So this lady recently got shot. Okay, she recently got shot coming out from her home and so forth, and they gunned her down. Now, this comes out before Timothy is supposed to go back to trial in April. So one of the people that is involved in the investigation just lands up dead. That's kind of something. It sounds sus over there. Sounds a bit sus. You can see the dangers that this type of work presents. She was very instrumental in bringing some of the stories to light that you got to hear concerning Timothy Omotoso, which actually led to him being in jail for such a long time, because this trial and all this stuff has taken such a long time. And so I wanted to kind of bring these particular stories together, because you can kind of see, there is a danger to some of the stories that you see. It's just 2 views, 20 views, 30 views. There's a danger that can come with that kind of work and the kind of work that we carry out. Personally, I do like giving video stories that other people are generally not likely to see. You might see a trending story that gets covered on many different platforms. I don't cover it because I'm looking for a story that makes these platforms' publications very different. It shouldn't be that we're just people are just copying each other. You have to find almost your tune in your capability, being able to find stories. So I like finding stories like this that might be popular in Zimbabwe, and you bring it out. There's a story that I want to do. I've been following the story for the last 3 weeks. This kind of a story, it is with a heartbreaking thingy, but it also just shows you what the journey of an individual. That's why I wanted to cover it so much, is that he's gone to put his expertise into other areas far away from the Charlies, and he's put his work into an area where it benefits back into his community. And you see, it immediately brings danger. And it reminds you again why people would rather go the easier route, right? Instead of going this route of this type of exposure content that he does. Because for many people, they'll just rather hide back. Just kind of like stay out of it. It kind of reminds me of Makambakwe. I think that's the name of the platform. They are comedians who speak about the news. They are originally they used to do this content in Zimbabwe and stuff. And I think they had to even move out. I don't know if all the comedians on that platform are actually in Zimbabwe, still in Zimbabwe, because they would criticize the government from way back. They got in trouble so many times just to cover those news things. The gentleman that I was speaking about yesterday, Sowere, who was saying that TB Joshua passed away from a stroke, that man has been arrested so many times just for criticizing government, just for exposing certain aspects of society's ills and stuff. And so, y'all recognize some of this content that you see on social media. It's not all just copy and paste viral content. Some of it comes from a passion, and it can be very costly for what you see it as. Structurality Show, daily Christian commentary videos. If it's the first time of a YouTube show, check out some other videos that are down in the pinned comments. I'll be Ricky, and I'll see you later on. Y'all have a wonderful morning.